System 1 loaded.
Welcome geeks to another star-studded edition of GEEKisH News, the YouTube news show that gives you the lowdown on what's happening in the world of entertainment, pop culture, and all things geek. I'm your host Dan Mack, and have I got news for you? I've got movie news about a Mummy reboot, the lowdown on Disney's new animated feature Zootopia, a heads up on a TV classic getting the reboot treatment by Netflix, and some interesting travel news for any interstellar tourists planning on visiting Earth. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. The Mummy rises again. Since its early years, Universal Studios has had a reputation for producing monster movies. While the studio has moved on and diversified into other genres of film, it still manages to find its way back to its roots. And now it seems they're about to do it again, with another reboot of the Mummy franchise. Universal's The Mummy first hit the silver screen in 1932, and while the 1999 reboot of The Mummy starring Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, and John Hannah did manage to reinvigorate the franchise and do well at the box office, its sequels didn't keep the momentum going. Now Universal is ready to revisit the franchise, and this time with a bit more star power. It was reported by Empire that Mission Impossible star Tom Cruise is in talks with Universal to play the lead in the upcoming reboot. While the added star power of Cruise could attract more cinemagoers, this reboot has another trick up its sleeve. Alex Kurtzman and Fast and the Furious regular writer Chris Morgan are currently overseeing an ongoing film project with Universal that ties together Universal's trademark creature features, such as Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, Wolfman, and the Mummy of course, into a series of movies that blend characters in the same way Marvel has done with the Avengers franchise. This means that Cruise could potentially be one of the linchpins linking the films together into one big monster mash, becoming the Captain America, if you will, of this particular franchise. It goes without saying that this set of films will be one that GEEKisH fans of monster movies should definitely check out. It's a jungle out there. Also in film news, Disney's next feature animation Zootopia, or Zootropolis as it will be entitled in the UK and other countries, has just had its first trailer released. Starring Arrested Development and Horrible Bosses star Jason Bateman with Jennifer Goodwin from Once Upon a Time, the story focuses on a fast-talking con artist fox, Nick Wilde, voiced by Bateman, who finds himself in an unlikely partnership with by-the-book police officer Bunny Rabbit Judy Hopps, voiced by Goodwin, as they attempt to solve a crime that Wilde has been framed for. Directed by Byron Howard, who previously co-directed Bolt and Tangled, and Rich Moore, who previously directed Wreck-It Ralph, Zootopia is set to be unleashed in cinemas March 2016. Get lost again. And in television news, Netflix has announced its plans to reboot the 1960s sci-fi TV classic Lost in Space. Plans have been in the works to bring Lost in Space back to the small screen for over a year, according to US media reports. The original series, which first aired in 1965, only lasted 3 seasons, just like the original television series for Star Trek. But just like the original Star Trek series, Lost in Space gained popularity in reruns. But how will a reboot of a piece of iconic 1960s sci-fi Americana fare with today's modern viewers? Hopefully better than the 1998 cinematic adaptation of the same name, which starred Matt LeBlanc, Gary Oldman, and Heather Graham, and despite its initial success at the box office, knocking James Cameron's Titanic out of a 15-week streak at the #1 spot in its opening weekend, received mostly negative reviews from critics. And hopefully it will at least get off the ground, unlike the Warner Brothers television reboot in 2003, whose John Woo-directed pilot didn't even make it to air. Executive producer for the series Kevin Burns said in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, "We've obviously been developing Lost in Space for a long time, and we've had a couple of false starts. Just speaking for myself, we really felt that we had learned a lot, not only from what we did, but from what others did and did wrong." Netflix is yet to announce a cast, director, or writing team but hopefully it won't be too long before we hear the familiar robotic wail of Danger, Danger Will Robinson. Visitors from out of this world. And finally, in travel news, members of the South Norwood Tourism Board in London have applied to have the name of Norwood Junction train station changed to Norwood Intergalactic. This is in response to East Croydon Station petitioning to have its name changed to Croydon International due to its close proximity to London Gatwick International Airport. In a letter to both Croydon Council and Network Rail, the South Norwood Tourism Board spelt out the features and benefits that the name change would spell out for both Norwood and the Greater London metropolitan area, including increased tourism, both local, international, and interplanetary, its prime location being closer to the London CBD than Croydon, and being ideally situated within proximity to the Andromeda Galaxy and the Magellanic Clouds. The letter also went on to state the diversity of the community in South Norwood and its welcoming nature that would be extended to visitors from beyond. The letter concluded, "As the suggestion to rename East Croydon proves, current reality needn't be a brake on our aspirations. After all, we wouldn't want to go through a rushed renaming process once contact had been made and we all had much more pressing concerns on our minds. A little forethought on our part would doubtless impress our extraterrestrial visitors." So, if the proposed name change goes ahead for Norwood Junction to Norwood Intergalactic, can we expect to see visitors from another world touch down in South London? I guess we'll have to keep watching the skies. Or the railways. Whichever happens first. Well, that's all we have for you on this edition of GEEKisH News, but please make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can stay in the loop with all things geekish. And while you're there, why not check out some of our other videos made by the Zombie Playground production team. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook, where we like to post all sorts of articles, pictures, and random cool pieces of stuff. This has been Dan Mack for GEEKisH News. We'll catch you next time.